All right, we're back. We are COMP1006 in the winter 2017 semester. We are week 1, part 2 of our broadcast. Part 1 is kind of long. Part 2, I want to talk about a couple things. So we've installed Node for most of you, right? If you've installed Node and you look at PowerShell, Windows PowerShell. And by the way, if you don't know what Windows PowerShell is, I'm just going to launch my my Windows side for a second. Right? So let me launch Windows 10. Now, in order for me to do Windows 10, and if you're a Mac person, you need to have 8 gigs of RAM, right, associated with your Windows machine, at least with a couple of cores, and you should probably run an i7. So I've got about 16 gigs of RAM on this thing, 8 gigs Windows, right? I've allocated about 170 gigs of space for my Windows machine, right? So that's how I'm running it, and that's how it's running the way it is. Okay, so it's a virtual machine, so it's not real, right? But I can pull up things like Visual Studio, right? If you really want to use Visual Studio for PHP, you can. If you're someone who wants to use Visual Studio, right? But the problem with Visual Studio, to me, is it's a real fat pig of an application, right? For what you're doing with PHP, right? I'll let this resolve in a second. Oh, there it is. Okay, so there's Visual Studio. So you can see that there's a bit of a lag, right? When it comes to, when it comes to Visual Studio. But here's something else that you want to look at. If I kind of go into my Windows machine and I look for PowerShell, right? So if I start typing power, I can get the Windows PowerShell. That's how I get it. And notice now, if I kind of go in there and do a git, I can see my git command, right? So again, I'm doing PowerShell, right? And because I've installed Node, now I installed an older version of Node. So if I go Node -v, you can see that it's going to come up with 7.3. Older on my Mac, I'm saying, right? And if I do npm -v, I should see something like 3.8.9. Okay. Now again, I'm showing you Windows so that way for most. I've been doing Mac for the first part. I want to do Windows for this part. It's the same at the end of the day when it comes to what I want you guys to do. Again, what I did was I set up a folder, right? And let me just do that. I'm going to go Mac for a second. And I'm going to drag that folder into the Windows side. So this big folder right here, this one, I'm going to copy it, go into the Windows side and paste, right? Yes, I have an SSD. And this one, if I run Visual Studio Code, here's Visual Studio Code on the Windows side of the house, right? And it chugs a little bit. Forgive me because I am virtualizing. Right? And if I drag this in, the same folder, the great thing is it comes with the .git folder, which is hidden, right? So I'm going to get that. And if I drag and drop that in, so if I kind of pull this down and drag and drop this into here, you kind of should see something like what I have here. Right, so there's my VS Code folder right here, right? If I open this in command prompt, right, I've actually got my command prompt geared to using PowerShell. You can do that as well, right? And we'll talk about how, right? You can also modify your Visual Studio Code to open up whichever command prompt you want, all right? Now in PowerShell, if I do a git command, or if I do, if I can type, if I do an npm command, it'll work, right? And that's what I want you guys to do. Man, you okay? Yeah. All right. So now, once I have npm installed in Node, the reason why I've asked you to get it is because I want to download and install something called Bower. I told you, this is configuration day, right?
Is it Bower spelled?
Bower, as in bow wower, right? Bower. Not Bower the skates, right? All right, so here's Bower. There's the package manager for the web. Again, I'm using the Windows side, so forgive me for people who are using the Mac, right? So what I want to do when I install Bower is this, npm install -g Bower. -g stands for global. So that means it's going to be globally installed on the command prompt, okay? So if I bring up the command prompt now, going back to this, if I go npm install, just like it says here, here's the command, npm install -g Bower, and press enter. To go out to the web, the npm stands for Node Package Manager, right? Node Package Manager, that's why I'm using Node. It's going to go out, grab Bower, and install it on my system.
I just installed this anyway.
Now you can see the difference in speed that I've got here because I'm using a virtual machine compared to native, right? It's going to take some time to install Bower properly. But what Bower will allow us to do is a couple things. It'll allow me to go and grab two libraries. One is jQuery, and the other one is Bootstrap. Now we're running out of time. We're timing out, right, for today, right? Because now it's like we're 8 minutes to. So today's been a configuration day, and it was also been a decision day for us, right? Decision day is saying that we're only going to do 2 hours in class. That was your decision, right? And 1 hour, if you feel like it, in B230. Today, I'm going to go to B230, right? If you guys have questions, right, I'll meet you there, and we can talk about some kind of issues that you have, because that's my commitment to you, right? Other days may not be this way. Other days we might all say goodnight, right, because we're good. But tonight, I have a feeling that I need to go to B230, right? So that's where I'm going to go right after this, okay? I'm not going to continue to record anything because I think what we need to do is get everything working, the stuff that we've already kind of downloaded, right? So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, so there I've got Bower, and I'm going to stop right now. Next week, this is what we're going to do. When we get together, I'm going to have I'm going to send you an invite to Slack, all right? So everyone's going to have an invite to Slack. Slack is the communication tool we're going to be using, right? And the Slack channel, you're going to get an invite through email about joining me through Slack. Although I respond okay to emails, I get hundreds of emails a day, mostly from students, right? It's far better to get a kind of a Slack message to me. I can respond much quicker, and it's going to be right on my phone, right? So within a couple days, just kind of watch out for your kind of a Slack invite that I'm going to send you. And Slack you can install both on your phone and on your device so that we can communicate directly, right? You can also do communications with your team members, people in the class directly, or generally as a group. Okay, so we'll talk about that technology next week. For those people who are interested, I'm going to walk to B230 now, running. And then, sorry, I'm just not in shape, okay? All right. I'm going to run to B230, and then if you have questions, I'll answer your questions there one-on-one, okay? Guys, thank you so much for your patience today. I know it's a big setup day and a configuration day. We're not quite done. We still got to configure WAMP. We still got to configure a bunch of stuff. Next week, we're going to get right into the meat and bones of PHP. All right, thank you so much.